Well said. Thank you very much, Mr. Witness, for your warm testimonies. Commissioners will ask you some questions, however briefly. But we want to implore your indulgence to announce and recognize the presence of the Liberian ambassador to the United Nations, who has come to grace this occasion, Ambassador Nathaniel Barnes. We do recognize her presence. You say welcome and thanks for coming, sir. Okay. Check.
Mr. Witness, we want to thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
The purpose of this commission is to ascertain the fight and then make recommendation. Interestingly, you and myself heard from Nimba. I want you to make a clarification which concerns the selective killing of the Mandingo. You are attributing it to the statement that was made by Samuel Kanyando. And you have said the first person that was killed in Nimba was a Mandingo man. That fighting started December 24th. And the pronouncement of Samuel Kanyando that why Mandingo being selected for killing when they are Liberians was done either in February or March. Can you reconcile the rationale behind?
Thank you. You see, the Imin is a Mandingo blood, a Crown blood, a Gil blood, and a Mana blood. And one person who can count my roots up to about 20 from each side and where it all come from. So my ambivalence also stems from that. You remember the word NDPL? NDPL, when the rumors of war was coming, decided to, there was something they call NDPL task force. And I'm not sure during that time, Mr. Commissioner, he was still Commissioner of that area. There was an NDPL task force. And that task force, the one that came to my hometown, was all my friends and Mandingo boys. Surprisingly, we saw them with gun, with rifle. It happened prior to the war. So how did you get this thing? If you want to know about it, you had to join us. I said, no, I don't want to join anything. They started arresting people, their own friends and relatives. We're all related there, and they were taken to Buto. So when the incursion happened and they crossed from the border to Buto, they chased some of them to my very town, and how they got killed. Prior to that, the killing of the Mandingo people in Nimba country, the news reached all of us in Monrovia, including Dole. It was at that time that he concluded that the rebels were against both the Crowns and the Mandingos. And at the city hall, he elicited their help to join him fight the war. So that is as much as I know about that incident. I'm not rationalizing it. I'm saying it happened. Because all those who killed, the Mandingo boys who were killed, I can name some of them, the Vakeva, all of them are my friends and relatives.
You have listed, perhaps comprehensively, happenings that could be considered as a motivating factor of the Gio, perhaps and Manu, to support the MPFL. And you have also listed the number of personalities of both national and international characters that were executed not in the battlefront, but homes and other places, unarmed intellectuals from Nimba. What will you say that despite of that, those who were motivated for being supporters and fighters of NPFL because of the killing of the Gio Semano did not see the wisdom at the time to say this is taking different dimension and therefore we need to react. What will you say about that?
That has to come, the answer to that has to come in two components. What I've said, to clarify, was if people's backs have been pushed against the wall, if you are drowning, like how the Nimba people were being drowning at the time in the hands of the EFL soldiers from the order of Samuel Doe, and when you are drowning, you see any leaf floating, your best bet is to grab it to see if by that, the power of that leaf, you can escape the current of the river or the ocean. So that happened to Nimba people. And that was not a good thing. That's what I'm saying. Just killing of anyone is not something that I will want to defend. If I were a lawyer, I'm not sure if I would be, what can I give to defend a killer? So when the Nimba people were killing the Mandingo people, that was worst thing that could ever happen. It's like my cousin killed my nephew. Then what am I to believe? But the adults who participated in it, some of them were people whose wives were killed right before their eyes. You know, when your kinsman's blood is wasted before you, it's a terrible thing. That's another era of ambivalence also. But what I would say is, when I got to this country, I met Nimba people collecting money to support child children. I whispered, say, what will happen if the war does not stop yet tomorrow or the after? And I kind of discouraged some people. I had just come here. I addressed the Nimba community in Providence, Rhode Island, and tell them that. So I think two wrongs cannot make one right. And I think what we need to do in that county is like what my children are doing here now. Two of my sons had girlfriends that are crowned, and they already have children by those guys. And they condemn whatever took place. And one thing that I left out, not really left out, but because of time, was even one of my sons was greatly affected, and he still carried the trauma. The youngest one, when he was hungry, could not walk anymore. He was 6 years old. So he fainted. His two brothers, who were running along with him to go to Fendell to see if they can walk to Nimba County, stopped to say they could not leave their brother down. So what my middle son did was he peed in the cup, he urinated in the cup, and he maybe filled it or did not fill it, and gave his urine to his brother to drink. And when he drank the urine, He opened his eyes. Who helped to take him to Ivory Coast? A Mandingo man. Who Christian Harvard asked, these are my friend's children, please take them. Much had happened. My son is now well today. What can you and I do?
Sorry for that. Your argument of rationalization of why the Guilds and Mano took arms and your call for justice and accountability, how will you compromise this? Because even before court, people are given the opportunity to justify. If someone killed and appear before court, the judge and the jury will try to ascertain the argument of why this killing was done. If it is deliberate, malice at a forethought, then it is murder. If it is justifiable, then it's manslaughter. Now you have given in your intellectual discourse the rationale behind taking up arms of your tribesmen. Yet you are calling for accountability and justice. Can you compromise?
That is a very good question. I really appreciate that question. I started by saying I sit here with my heart pounding with contradictions. And that is my source of contradiction. But let me tell you how the Guild people make sure that justice is taking place in a house matter. If there was a quarrel between two people, and they say one is wrong and the other one is right, they still want to make sure justice prevails. They will call the elder, who is responsible for ensuring justice. And the elder will call the person that is wrong, say, you are wrong. You need to apologize to this person. Accompanying the apology will be a token of guilt. Sometimes they take white collar from the guilty party and give to the person that is not guilty. So when I'm calling for justice, because I really recommend that justice become part of your mandate, that those who are wrong, they are lucky that even if they went before the law and they were guilty, they will not be slaughtered like how they slaughter other people. But impunity is what I'm against. Let someone take responsibility of the act. I'm willing to forgive anyone. I forgive Charles Breeze for turning me over. But I don't think I will be brave to go around here any longer, because I'm not sure if he and I will coexist peacefully. I don't know what ran through his mind when he turned me over. So when I'm calling for justice, those architects that are still living, they still know how to manufacture other things. Let's try to find a way to discourage them so that they don't do this thing again. I don't know what I'm saying the right thing, but I know I'm saying something that I will say anyhow, no matter how you look at it, how somebody else look at it. I just think killing someone and just going with impunity is a wrongful thing to do. Like I told you before, I didn't like the manner in which Samuel Doe was killed. I certainly did not like the manner in which the 13 people were executed on the pole. They should have gone through the process of justice. I'm sure they would have been remorseful and say, I'm sorry I did this, and this is what I can do to compensate the losses that you have incurred. I strongly believe that way. And a part of your question, I'm not rationalizing the reason why gay people fight, but I'm only telling you what was happening to some of those people. And I said, I, Miamen Zizi Wopea, if I were there and my daughter was raped before me in the way it happened, and I had a gun, I'm not sure if I would be pious enough to let the gentleman go free. You understand my point? But I was not there. I have 4 grandchildren who do not know their fathers. I'm not sure. And that's another ambivalence. That's contradiction. I had to deal with that. I had to internalize those contradictions and deal with them. Maybe when I come back home and you and I become the way we were before, and we tell each other, say, you know, Brother Wopea, I didn't even know we were going to go to this level or this, and we joke about it, like how my kids are doing here now. We talk about this thing a whole lot, and they tell me, your country is a killing country. I said, man, that's where you come from. I had one son here, he was born in 1995. When each time we talk about it, he cannot believe that. He said, man, you Liberians eat people, man. I'm not going to that country. You think I'm happy about that? I'm not. In fact, I'm trying to send him to, I'm looking for one mission in Liberia to send him to boarding school now, so you can get to know that there are other good sides of Liberia there. I don't know how am I going to do it. So it's contradiction. But my thing about justice, I know you are a man of justice, and you know what I'm talking about. Let's find a way so that if, for instance, a senator who now enjoy immunity, let's find a way and ask him to come and speak to us. You did this. How do you think we can move forward? Let them suggest that. That's also justice. Let's hear from them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Witness, listening to you, I sometimes pen in my little cheat sheet things that, reflections that I can repeat and quote later. My purpose here is truth searching, truth finding, and for clarity. I have no fish to fry on any side. We have a sacred burden, and I will always repeat, Dr. Wesley, a sacred charge and a sacred responsibility. So to those who are out there, I quote, and I will always quote what Mr. Doyen said, the people have a right to be wrong. And I put on an 8-year Jesna wrote after listening to you, and those who are right must do something about the wrong. I just put that there too so you can quote parable, John 14, 2008. What, yeah, Claire would got to put a little humor in this thing. So sometimes when I speak, I'm just paying for humor. After you all know I have no fish to fry. I have a sacred charge. What's your level of education? Your degree, Mr. Witness, so we can know who we're talking with.
I'm a college graduate. I graduated from the University of Liberia, and I graduated from the College of Education in Mauritius, and I completed courses at the Academy of Educational Development in Washington, D.C. in advanced English and textbook writing. And currently, I'm doing a graduate program here at the university. I'm doing linguistics.
Linguistics?
Right.
To learn, okay. Now, you said something just now. You said, Jesus, if they were to ask you, you didn't say Jesus, but if they were to ask you whether you want to go home now, you said, no, you won't go because you know the situation there. So, and what you did talk to us in camera, and you said there's certain people there now whose name you can't call. But I just want to know to give us a cue. We, the commissioners, who been going to 14 counties in Monrovia, in Liberia, hearing the names of all those people, hearing, they got it typing audio and stuff, and coming here and hearing those names. You who here now have come and told us your story. And you say you can't go home. Were you giving a warning that we should try and seek asylum and don't go back? Eh? Because it's something there that's trouble?
No, I take it. I take that back.
Okay, thank you. I feel so proud now. I can even stand up for that. To know you. Who got all those degrees and no English. Especially, that's the problem here. Even many people graduating now and functional illiterate, and you who know about English to start teaching people, you say you can't go.
I
but
will.
you got to help me. Who got to write their history with those verbs? Another thing from the lapsed lingua and send you linguistic, I just want to put 2 corrections. And I think you will agree with me because since you got it on paper, but you were talking extemporaneously, you mentioned that you were living near Jenkins Scott and he was Minister of Education. I think you will agree with me, he was Minister of Justice, right?
Yes, justice.
Yeah, so let's clear because we have
Okay.
foreign journalists here and stenographers. I want that to clear.
Okay.
And another thing for claim to fame, whether or not, you said Charles Taylor came from Clay Ashland. Please, I think we agree where he came from, Arlington.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. What else can I say?
Arlington, right?
Yeah,
Now,
Addington.
you said that, and I just want for the record, because we Liberians talk fast, and you're still a Liberian who has to go and contribute, perhaps in your book. So I want for clarity, you said that when you were in jail, an American attaché came to the jailhouse, and he said, quote, because I didn't understand whether he meant people, he said people or boy. And since we have to put these quotations down for our children to read and posterity and won't be around to correct. We quote, we can stay here and this man killed all the educated people out of the country. Could you say exactly what he said in our paper that you got?
He actually said, first, what I was, when you come, there's some paper you use. Say, whatever USIS did for you to get out of the country, you cannot use it in any court or any hearing.
No.
I think it's written, so that's part of the reason why. But this is what he said. He was scratching his head with his right hand. He said, we cannot stay in this country, and this man killed all the educated young boys. So he said, we'll find a way how to get you out of here.
Young boys.
Yeah, he said young boys.
Unquote.
Unquote, yeah.
That's a good statement. You talk about during the period of Samuel K. Doe. That was right after the revolution that brought in for the indigenous, our true Liberians. You said during that period, the Guillos and Manos, say to speak on top of Guillos and Manos, yesterday people from Nimba County, excluding the Crowns, because Crowns are in Nimba County. The Guillos and Manos were taking reduced other education ministry to the level of how many persons? Three?
When I was there, I can name people that were there to be precise. There was one, Lawrence Tubman.
Lawrence?
Tubman, not Tubman, but Tubman. And there was one, Moses Duople. He was a clerk.
Moses Duople.
Duople was a clerk.
And you?
No, there was another person who joined us later. That was the guy that killed Gonge Kato. Gonge Kato, who got killed.
Nonge, I will ask the name, they tell how to spell it, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, now.
And myself.
Yes, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
You made it 5.
Right.
All right. Just, although you were young, but it was not too long because you were working in education ministry right after the coup. Can you recall, in the Toba government, I was just talking about education ministry now, in the Ministry of Education up to April 12, 1980, if you know who were in at education ministry and to what rank, how high were they from Nimba or Guillaume? Do you know who it was?
I know the entire government. Jackson Doe was there as Minister of Education.
Also, Jackson Doe.
Jackson F. Doe,
He was from what tribe?
Gil tribe.
Kio was the Minister of Education up to 1980, April 12, right?
I'm not sure of the time frame, but I know he was one time Minister
Minister
of Education.
of Education.
Again.
Perhaps the historians out there will find his time.
When I got there, he was no
I think he
longer
was the
there.
Minister of Education.
He was,
Yeah,
definitely
when
he was.
Talbot died, so he
Yeah.
was in his cabinet.
I got there in 1988, and he was no longer there. He was
He
in
was-
the Congress,
He was then
a congressperson,
congressman representing
Nimba County.
Nimba County.
Right.
But he had served, he was Senator
Yeah.
Jackson N. Doe,
F.
Doe.
Right.
And he was then the number 2 man in the two-week party of Liberia, vice chairman of the party.
You're correct.
And Thompson was the chairman.
That's correct.
And senator. And prior to then, he was the Minister of Education in Talbot government.
That's correct.
Thank you. Just for the history, because we got to write it, I want to be clear. You also said that during the queer apartheid, guilds as well as crown soldiers were forced to eat Queen Pa's body.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's correct. They told me that when I asked, say he was forced to eat it. He was the one I referred to as Uncle Gay.
And just one more question. Why people say me at top of Congo country, not that? Because I mixture of all. Yes. So I'm true representative of the Liberians. You said that Charles Taylor was a Congo man, and you didn't understand why the Nimba people allowed him to use them. Let's trace this Congo thing here. What was Charles Taylor? You know where his father was from? Because now we just got to know 2 days ago how he got his name, Gange. That his pa didn't give him that name. A witness who testified, Mary Hayes, told us she gave him that, she recommended the name Gange and told him what it meant in Gola, and that's how he got that name, Charles Gange. So at least we didn't know that, and if we had not come on this stage, perhaps we had never known that. So we're happy for this opportunity of truth session. So do you know where Charles Taylor Park came from?
From the town Attington, where he come from, in Liberia.
You think he was born there?
I don't know much about Charles Taylor's birth.
But then how it's just here. But okay, we can find out where his park came from.
We can find out.
But discovered that Nielsen Taylor was a loafer man Loma from that era. Do you know where his mother came from?
No.
Okay. So that we have to continue to truth search to really find the identity of this man.
But I know that the name Taylor is not a Loma name, but a Loma person could have that name.
Tama Taylor,
Who
was a Buse, Loma chief, well known, and his son, they were what?
Madam Commissioner, Tamba is a Buse name.
Okay.
Taylor, Gize name. Okay, whatever it is, a Lofa name. But Taylor is not. But a person from Lofa could be a Taylor. A person from Lofa could be a James.
Okay.
A person from Lofa could be an Edwin.
Okay. So then we will agree that some of the names that we carry really, the name don't represent where we're from or what tribe we're from in Liberia.
That's correct.
Thank you, thank you, Moses. Yes. Thank you for being a part of the.
And before you turn me over to the next commissioner, I'm very happy that you quoted the late Doyen. And one of the famous quotations that I have from him, he says, he tells me, my son, wherever you live, don't try to be where you're not able to be, because fools were born ever since.
And that is from young Doyen or old Doyen?
Old Doyen.
Please repeat it.
He said fools He said fools, F-O-O-L-Ls, were born ever since. So they will always be with us.
And I will close so that there's so much good in the worst of us and so much bad in the best of us. So sometimes we have to be careful how we judge the rest of us.
Thank you. That's my summation. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Witness, thank you. I just have 3 quick questions for you.
Okay.
Number 1, was Jackson Dole's VP expectation limited to Liberians only, or was it a broad-based non-Americo-Liberian expectation?
It was a broad-based expectation, but Nimba people would have been very happy if that happened.
Okay. Number 2, has there ever been a unresolved historical conflicts between the Crown and the Gio and the minor group?
That is a good question. Let me take you to a comment General Glade made at the City Hall when the Crown people were having their county organization. That was my first time to hear about an age-old conflict between the Crown and the Gio people. That in that inaugural program, General Glade, he was a general working for Samuel Doe, and he was the first to speak about an age-old conflict. He said the Gio people have been our enemies for ages. So when you and one Gio men are fighting, make sure there are thousands of Gio people in the grass. So we need to be careful. It was because of that. There was a newspaper in Monrovia at that time called Mail. I was not satisfied with that comment, that an honorable representative will give an oration and don't be positive, but talk about the negative things that he thought happened. So I was emulating one English writer called Joseph Hall. He was the first to write about beware of hypocrites. So I wrote a long point imitating what he said. And I said, hypocrites are even in the government. In any government, they can support the infamous policy, even if the policy is injuring their own people. And hypocrites are also in church. In the church, they can be the one with the loudest amen. And they come with the heaviest volumes of Bible. It was that poem that I wrote that got me summoned to Capitol building before John Ramsey. Guess what he asked me? Mr. Wopea, you need to point finger at the hypocrites or else you go to jail. Then the person I was aiming at was General Glade, because I don't know what he was trying to do. So what he was trying to do is to continue to put Kumba and Doe heads together so we can build what we became today. He should not have said that. So in any tribe, all of you belong to rural Liberia. You know that even families can have some little dispute about land, farming land. That is not something that you can call age-old animosity. Land disputes everywhere. People who took advantage of those disputes and magnify them to pitch heads together, I say shame on them.
So in summary, you're saying that the dispute was really an outstanding land dispute issue between them?
If it were not land dispute in the written oral history, in the oral history, there would be dispute over a woman.
Okay.
An outstanding daughter of someone had crossed the other side, and people have quoted her improperly, not giving it the proper value, so it becomes some dispute.
Okay.
I mean, the oral historians, I hope to become one. I available can attest to that.
All right, thank you. The third one is, do you, considering the deep tribal sentiments involved in our conflict period, do you think we should only seek justice for the few? How about the many who supported and encouraged the few? I mean, to put it simple, you can find one man and say this guy is responsible, and then let him pay justice. But in reality, that man became what he is because of the tribal sentiment and that boosted him up, like the situation now with one of our senators. He's been boosted up by the people. So how do you bring real justice if you just deal with that one man and forget about the people and their complexity? So this is a point of concern.
Commissioner Coburn, I want to say thank you. I'm talking about justice everywhere, and justice for all,
Okay.
not selective justice.
Okay, thank you.
If you think because I left the war early, I'm wrong, prosecute me for leaving early. Justice for everybody,
That's complex.
for every tribe, for every language group, linguistic group that participated.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Witness, how are you?
Thank you, madam.
Okay. I have 3 short questions for you. You stated in your testimony that the BTC was a killing squad, was a killing ground. Okay. Now, I just want you to very briefly describe for us what you meant by that statement.
If maybe let me put myself in deeper trouble by saying both BDC and the executive mansion. During the early days of the war, whenever someone from Nimba was taken to the BDC, you were only there to be killed. I was there and I saw people killed. There were no investigation. There were some few questions that you were asked. Do you know about the rebel that are in your country? You say no. The popular question, what tribe are you? And sometimes we hesitated to say we were killed. And the more you hesitated, and the faster you were killed, because then you try to formulate lies. And so it was killed, it was there. General Miamen was killed. Notable people got killed there during the early days of the war.
General Miamen, do you mean Philip Miamen at the time?
I can't remember his first name. He's actually from 15 miles away from my home, but I never really got to know his first name. But he was a Guild person.
Were you there when he was killed, or you heard about it?
No, I had left shortly after I left. Because I was there when he was in jail. Okay. I was there when he left Nimba. He was in Nimba when the incursion started. So he decided to come to Monrovia. So when he got to Monrovia, he was arrested. They said the CIC ordered his arrest. So I was there when he was arrested. I left him to BDC. I think a few days after I left, he got killed.
And this is the period 1990 to 91?
Correct.
Okay. You mentioned that one of your friends was killed and his wife took the 5 children to the mansion to see if she could secure his body for proper burial, but that the wife and the 4 daughters were also killed.
Right.
What happened to the little boy?
The little boy, she took 4 daughters, and the little boy did not go. So he was not killed. He's here now, and he's in the military. And he's not happy about what happened to his father as he fight in Iraq. He's not happy about it. That's part of the thing I was talking about. He's the only surviving member of his entire family. He's in the military here. He's getting the best of training. But he's not happy. He's learning how to kill. Because you go to Iraq, you must kill something or someone. Okay? So he's not happy. I mean, that's all I can say about that one.
So we assume that you are maintaining close contact with him as a close family friend?
Yes. He calls me uncle, and I call him my son.
Okay. You also stated that Mr. Charles Breeze, whom you referred to as your mentor at the time, turned you and his quote-unquote girlfriend concubine in to security forces, then in the midst of imminent danger due to your ethnicity, both you and the lady. I just want you again very briefly describe or tell us what kind of a man or person was Charles Breeze before the crisis period and just during that time. Just very briefly, please.
Yeah. My knowledge about Charles Breeze up to the point when I first met him at Cotton College. He had become director of teacher education, and we had discussion, and he told me that you speak good English, so I think you could be a good English professor in the future. He was a very nice person. Even up to that point where he turned me in, that was to my total shock that the person that I really admire will say emphatically that he does not trust me. And the woman that he sleeps with. And up to that time, I did not call the woman his concubine. I say that now because of what he did. Because it was through her that we all have easy access to Charles Breeze then. And when his wife came to the office, I was in my office that she receded until the wife left. So he was a nice person in my view, and I mean, that's it.
And you said this woman got killed eventually?
Yeah, she got killed.
Okay. My last question. Do you know or did you hear anything about Mr. Breeze being a member of Samuel Doe's death squad during that period? Did you ever see him in military uniform of the AFL?
During the time I left the country, I did not see him with uniform, but I heard that he became the commander of Doe's death squad. But this is one other thing that I know. In his office was where, at that time, Samuel Doe had sent a few people abroad, and people were speculating that they went to secure arms ammunition. Senator Hillary Bomley was one of those. He's from Nimba County. It was in his office when I had gone there, they were discussing about how Doe was making a mistake and sending a Nimba person to go and secure arms. So when he comes, the best thing to do is to put him in jail and probably kill him. His wife was also here, already here. Hillary Bomley's wife was already here. So when I heard that from Charles Breeze's office, I called to his wife and said, if Hillary Bomley is on that side, this is what I heard. And he said, no, he's not here. They went to a different country. But I will try to get in touch with him. But I did not see him in military uniform, but I heard later on that he was the commander for the death squad. The person I saw in military uniform was George Bully, who was once Minister for Education, who came when they took me into Broad Street, and he came there where I was tortured. He said, we will kill those Guillermo bitches. So that's one of the government officials that I saw in a complete military outfit with AK-47 and some other rifle around his waist. It was Dr. George Bully.
During the same period, 1990-91?
The same period, before I left the country.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you.
In your testimony, you said that there are some young Liberians now who have been enlisted in the U.S. Army, and they actually talking about what's happened back home, and your concern was some of these do not only want to be a professional soldiers, but it's possible that because of what's happened back home, they have joined the U.S. Army. My question now is, as an educator and one of the elder in the Liberian community here, what are you doing to disengage the minds of these youth towards revenge? Because looking at our country, we have fought this war for 14 years, and nobody can be considered as a winner. What are you doing to disengage these youth in our community here?
Thank you. first let me clarify that not all of the young men that are in the military from Liberia that are serving the government here are there for the purpose of retribution later. Some of them are doing it because there's certain benefits that come with that. They'll be able to go to college free. They might be a lawyer to this country. They might have good intention. But coming to your question, my job responsibilities require me to do home visits, like I said earlier. I do a lot of home visits. I do school visits. I do district visits, and I talk to young people. Most Liberian, about 90% of Liberians in jail will testify that they have seen me trying to do some voluntary counseling with them. The program that we run, that I run, called New Arrival Program, is where we have cross-cultural activities, and we invite some folks from Vietnam or Laos, and they come to share their experiences and see how they can build positive images out of the negative images that they have had. So we have been trying to work with some of them. In fact, when schools encounter troubling students with this background, they contact me, and I do contact. I'm sure folks from the Center of Victims of Torture are here. They will bear me out. And we try to offer help to see how we can deprogram them out of the war mentality into the mainstream. We take a process. The difficulty we've been having so far is Liberians are so private. It's very difficult for them to tell you what actually is going on with them. It's difficult to even have a Liberian woman to come and stand and say, I was raped. You know how that mentality is. So for those that we have listened to and heard from, we have sought help for them. And some of the kids relate to me very well, actually. Like the gentleman we're talking about, who is the last surviving member. We had a schedule for him to come here before he get married, and I intend to continue to talk to him. My son that I talked about, who drank his brother's urine before he could open his eyes, he was affected, and I have been counseling him, and because of that, he came from that war with some little bit of mental issue. Right now, he's on deportation list, and so I'm still counseling him to see how we can deal with that, because the war affected them so greatly. So what we do is, there's even the young girls who also come from some confused background. One of my collaborators, Doris Parker, she's here. We organize group, and she is ahead of the group, and trying to rehabilitate the girls, putting them in a girls' kickball team, and giving them some good recreation, positive images. So there are much things that I do, but I don't do those independently. I do that behind the benefit of my office. As a matter of fact, everybody that works in my office, they're all white Liberians. And some of the social workers, we had a program that gowned them as Liberians. So don't be surprised to see them telling you that they are Liberian, because they all are aware of the Liberian situation. And so we're working somehow to see how we can rehabilitate these young folks, including my own and the gentleman that I talked about.
Thank you very much. I'm so sorry for what you experienced.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask one question? I truly listened to you, I didn't get.
I said no.
The audience? Audience, what you say, should I? Mr. Witness?
Yes, Madam Commissioner.
Okay, after listening, talking, telling your story to us in camera, and after sitting here and sharing it with us and the audience,
And sharing tears.
and sharing tears, I know I feel good. When you came in camera, when you started and now, how do you feel after sitting there, and when you leave, because you came with this wording, you came, I won't even want to analyze how it is, but you know how you felt. Yes, I don't analyze. Do you really feel good now? For testifying.
Thank you. I feel much better now that the frustration is out there, and now it becomes something that we can think about. And it's unlike before. When I first told my story, and it was carried in the national news organ here, Star Tribune, on the first page, I think 2007, February 20. That I was not prepared when I told the story. And because I was not prepared, I must tell you that I did not even tell you how I was tortured as a man. I got depressed for 2 weeks because I was not prepared to tell the story. And my friends had to come and talk to me. And the first person I went to was a